Hey, what is going on, you guys? My name is Rayge, and we are back today with a quick Dark Dimension 6 guide and video for you all. In today's video, we're going to be going through actually some of the more common teams that we've seen already come to fruition, but I've been meaning to do this for a while, guys. You know, the leaderboards in the game provide a lot of meaningful information for us to really process, but as well develop these team combinations and synergies. And now I've had the chance to actually compile this information. So let's get right to it. We're going to be discussing some of the best teams, combinations, and what makes sense. And again, at the end of the day, with Dark Dimension 6, this is something you need to plan in advance for, especially the different characters and team synergies, but as well which gear you're going to be ultimately investing in, and whether or not these characters have had success. So a little bit of background, guys, before we get started. The following tables that I've put together, they have been compiled from the in-game leaderboards of successful Dark Dimension 6 attempts. They're very, very strong options, obviously, for Dark Dimension 3, 4, and 5 if they already work in Dark Dimension 6. So keep that in mind. Even if you guys are way down later in the pipeline starting this, this is going to give you value if you're planning to start in earlier Dark Dimensions, because building these characters is only going to give you more value if you know that this already works in the super end game. And then last but not least, these are not the best or only characters that you can use. What I'm showing you is based on popularity, based on the characters and teams that have been successful for approaching this unique challenge, the hardest challenge in the game right now, next to unlocking Apocalypse. However, it has been proven to have higher success from endgame whales and dolphins. So these are players that have not had any kind of gear constraint, gold constraint, so forth. So keep that in the back of your mind as we're assessing this, because some of these characters and teams, they're going to take time to build, but it's great to see at least what we can work towards, especially if you have the gear and planning appropriation needed. Last but not least, guys, here with the reminders, remember that this is a marathon, it's not a sprint. We're going to be focusing on quality over quantity characters, but also being mindful of big apocalypse as goal. We want to be building ultimately global and cosmic characters before city and legendary. However, as you'll see later on, there's going to be synergies that we can utilize, even if they are characters later down the road, such as city and legendary. And lastly, remember that Alliance, Raids, War, Cosmic Crucible, everything still matters in the game. Dark Dimension is not everything in the game. This is an ultimate end game to work towards, so this does not actually take priority over everything else. Just keep that in mind as you're progressing, because I know it can sometimes overshadow what you're thinking, but remember the day-to-day is always important because of the rewards, and as obviously being involved in Alliance has the merits as well. So firstly here, guys, in the energy trait section, we have basically summarized all the viable characters that have been utilized again in the leaderboards. And without a doubt, Apocalypse, Kang, and Nova are the most balanced, as well as one of the most common, right? So you can see here in this list here, what I've done with the charts is breaking down in terms of the usage per node. So you can see with Apocalypse, Kang, Nova, they're balanced in the sense that they're used pretty distributedly and even within the two nodes. And then you'll see, for example, Red Hulk and Val, although they are more commonly used in Nova, they're more prominently used in nodes 1, and then rarely used or just used a few times in nodes 2 because of probably the viability of the node. It gives you a sense in terms of who's effective in which node, but also when you're choosing and looking at these characters, be mindful of the gear tier requirement that you would need, right? For example, Red Hulk and Nova both share bio gear, so you have to make that choice there whether or not you want to utilize them, as that may be a constraint. And then other characters afterwards, characters I thought that would be more useful. Personally, I was thinking about bringing in Weaver, but now that I'm reviewing this list here and seeing that constraint for Mystic, it is allowing me now to review and pivot in terms of adjusting. I'm probably not bringing in Spider Weaver now that I've been able to kind of digest and see that what works and what has been successful. Captain America, Sam Wilson, Morgan Le Fay, Doctor Doom, they're all near the end of this chart here. As they're less commonly used, but remember, they may have uses elsewhere, so we're going to be seeing that synergy, we're going to be seeing those commonalities from other different sections, and that's what's really going to help us assist in determining, who our starting 5 would be, and then as well as the continuing characters. And remember, it's not just 5 characters per section, you can always add on characters as you progress through this journey as well, but For sure, it seems like Apocalypse, Kang, and Nova would be a strong starting 3, as well as if you can complement that later on, obviously here with Val, Sam Wilson, Captain America. I didn't say Weaver because that's another Mystic character, and you'll see later on as we go down with the slides here and the presentations that there's going to be a lot more Mystic characters involved. So you do want to be conservative in that respect. And then next up, we got the global section. So this is the start of Dark Dimension where we're going to be involved in 3 nodes now. And once again, the top 3 here is going to be Apocalypse, Captain America, and Captain Carter. You can see that those 3 are commonly used more than any of the other characters. Weaver gets some additional merit here because of the fact that she actually is utilized and pretty well balanced actually across all 3 nodes. But again, just be mindful of that Mystic gear that she needs. We see Black Widow actually being a very, very strong option after Weaver, as she's really commonly used and balanced throughout all 3 nodes. I love that. We unfortunately didn't see Black Widow's usage in the non-traits in the very beginning, so it's giving us some insight that she's useful in global. Perhaps you may not want to bring her into the any trait section, but keep in mind too, this is what's been successful. We can always make some meaningful progress even if Black Widow is not high on the charts here. She has versatility in global and usage value, so that means we could potentially use her as a 6 character or as a starting 5 if you just want to start Dark Dimension 6 right away. But keep in mind too, Captain America and Carter both have bio gear, so there's gonna be constraints there. Meanwhile, Weaver, Black Widow, Quicksilver, like I said, strong options. And then after that, Sam Wilson, Agent Venom, Doctor Doom, characters that I thought would be more useful actually aren't being utilized that much. So again, these are the end game players that had access to them and they weren't using them. So definitely useful information for us to process in making that ultimate decision here. Next up, Cosmic section. So I thought the Eternals were going to be easily the very top here, but you can see that's not the case. Val and Kang, again, Kang being utilized in any traits, but being one of the strong suitors as well here for the Cosmic section. Really makes sense to bring both of them in then as soon as possible, especially with Val being that strong contributor in the any section as well, being that top 5, right? You can see they're both balanced in all three nodes as you progress to the Cosmic section. Afterwards, Dormammu kind of came out of nowhere. He gets a lot of value from the sustainability and the fact that he actually has crowd controlling aspects with his stun. And then that follows with Eternals being Icarus and Cersei, which is in the forefront here. They're a very, very strong dual combination, but if you're short on Mystic gear, that's why I can see that's why a lot of players aren't having access to both of them, just because of the fact that you need both of them to pretty much succeed. What was nice and promising was that Kestrel kind of came out of nowhere, and it's great to see Kestrel actually did have value there. After that, guys, it really falls off a cliff in terms of Star-Lord Annihilation. We have Thor Infinity and Beta Ray just not really making a mark. You know, they're only used with specifically for 1 node, or maybe 2, but you know, they really did not make the mark, unfortunately. It's really Val, Kang, Dormammu, Eternals, and Kestrel. That's pretty much going to be our pick for the Cosmic section. And how I would work around that is really taking a look at your gear constraint and your materials that you have on hand and making the best of that decision. But remember, Val and Kang were both very useful in the anti-trade section. That for me is a definite lock. We also have the city section next. So this one predominantly, I thought it was going to be Cloak and Dagger, a similar situation to the Eternals where I thought they would be in the forefront. Cloak and Dagger is actually dead smack in the middle, so my assumptions were definitely wrong. Again, it's probably likely because of that Mystic constraint. What I was surprised to see was that Firestar and Spider-Man 2099 are easily the top 2 for the city section. So that, without a doubt, is going to be a lock for myself, especially one being a mutant and then the other being a bio. We're going to have really good resource allocation there. Shang-Chi got a lot of value in city as well. I thought he was going to tip off with, you know, obviously he's fallen off the ladder in terms of where he stands in the game and his stats, but it's great to see that he actually still holds a lot of value for the city section. For that reason, you know, I used him in Dark Dimension 4 and 5. A super amazing character to utilize, so 100% would recommend, guys, especially with his accessibility, him being in the Blitz store and easy obtain, especially for newer players. So for sure, Firestar, Spider-Man 2099, Shang-Chi, Cloak and Dagger, that's ideally what my 5-man team would be. But Squirrel Girl, Mr. Negative, Gwenpool still has some usage. They were pretty much used a node here or there and pretty common among the players. It's just the other 5 predominantly take over in terms of players seeing that their value has had a higher success rate. But remember, guys, Cloak and Dagger are also heavy in Mystic Gear, so that's just the one thing to be mindful of, especially when you're planning in advance. And then lastly, the only section I did here was on the Legendary Section 1, because the Legendary Horseman section is pretty obvious. If you want to succeed with Apocalypse, that one speaks for itself. So this is the last insight here, guys. Legendary section in terms of the non-Legendary Horsemen. Omega, Nova that we've seen earlier from the Any Trade section, Shuri, and as well as Nick Fury, they're basically locks. These four are basically the meta for the legendary sections. I mean, there's just no way to work around it. Your fifth character is pretty much who you have gear for, whether that be Adam Warlock and Magneto seems to be the options that most players have been bringing in. But I mean, I'm thinking of Jubilee, Phoenix, Dr. Octopus. They're not on this list because barely any players use them, but they would be strong options. The fifth character is basically just fodder. The main four being Omega, Nova, Shuri, and Nick Fury are definitely ones to consider. And given how popular they are, guys, what I would review then, if you're having a hard time starting the any trade section, what I would review if I were you is going through these charts and taking a look at, for example, the top 4 of here, the top 3 or 4 here, the top 3 or 4 of this section, and lastly global. If there's some synergies that you can see, you can 100% bring them in for the anti-trade section, because they're not registered here, but that doesn't mean they haven't worked. It's just, again, this reflects the success of players that are in the end game that pretty much brought in the meta, and there can always be opportunities to try a new synergy that we haven't seen yet. But those are pretty much the most popular choices, guys. I hope this helps you kind of determine, in terms of end of the day, which Dark Dimension 6 characters are going to help start your progress, as well as which ones you're going to be adding along the way to ensure that success for your progression. Thank you as always. Do let me know what you think in the comments below, guys. I'm eager to hear back from you. And thank you. I'll catch you guys in the next one.